Okay, if you're working in compliance or sustainability, you know that integrity is pretty much everything. And in the voluntary carbon market, that integrity really boils down to one single powerful concept: additionality. Now, if you get this right, you've got a credible climate claim. But if you get it wrong, well, that's where you run the risk of greenwashing. So today, we are going to dive deep and break it all down.
This right here, this is the whole game. It's the simple, powerful idea at the very heart of the market. A carbon credit is only legit if it represents a climate benefit that happened because of the carbon market's existence. If a project was going to happen anyway for other reasons, then selling credits for it, well, that doesn't create any new benefit for the climate. It's just shuffling paper around, not creating real action.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the basic principle. Then we'll get into the tricky part. How do you prove a what-if scenario? From there, we'll dig into the two massive tests every single project has to pass: the regulatory test and the financial one. And finally, we'll see how market-wide standards make sure these rules are actually enforced.
So let's start at the beginning. What does it actually mean for a carbon credit to be additional? Okay, here's the textbook definition. But what it really means, in simple terms, is that you have to prove the emissions reduction wouldn't have happened without the carbon market. The money from selling those carbon credits has to be the key ingredient, the decisive factor that made the whole project possible in the first place. And look, this isn't just some minor technicality. It's the absolute guarantee that a credit represents a real, measurable benefit to the climate.
Right, and this is where it starts to get a little bit mind-bending. Because to prove a project is additional, you basically have to prove a negative. You have to paint this totally credible picture of an alternate reality, a world where your project and its carbon funding never existed, and then show what would have happened instead.
The way we do this is by establishing what's called a baseline scenario. Now, this isn't just guesswork. It's a super rigorously defined, evidence-based projection of what would have most likely happened if that project had never gotten off the ground.
So think of the baseline as the business-as-usual path. What would have happened anyway? Then you compare the project's actual, measured emissions against that baseline. And the gap between those two lines, that is the climate benefit. That's the part that gets turned into carbon credits. So you can see why getting this baseline right is absolutely critical. The credibility of the whole system depends on it.
Okay, so the first major test for additionality is what's known as the regulatory surplus test. And it really just asks one simple but crucial question: was this project already required by law?
This is a really clear bright line rule. If a company is already legally required to, say, install a methane capture system or protect a forest, they can't then turn around and try to sell carbon credits for doing it. Why? Because the action wasn't caused by the carbon market, it was caused by the law. You can't get credit for simply following the rules.
And this isn't just a general idea, you know. It's literally codified in the market's rulebooks. This quote comes directly from Verra's Verified Carbon Standard, the VCS, which is one of the biggest carbon standards in the world. It is a non-negotiable requirement that has to be proven over and over again.
And this test covers way more than just big environmental laws. Project developers have to do a deep dive into the whole policy landscape. We're talking national laws, local statutes, product efficiency standards, even things like carbon taxes or subsidies that might make their project business as usual. If a regulation is on the books and it's enforced, you can't claim credits for complying with it, period.
So let's say a project clears that legal hurdle. It's not required by law. Great. But that's not the end of the story. There's a second equally important test, the financial one. Because even if a project isn't legally required, it's still not additional if it would have been profitable anyway.
Yeah, this is really the other side of the additionality coin. The project has to show that it faces real financial barriers. Things like super high upfront costs, low returns on investment, or specific risks that would normally stop it from ever happening without that extra stream of revenue from selling carbon credits. And again, this isn't just some vague claim a developer makes. It's a formal, structured analysis. You have to show your work. As you see here, first they have to analyze all the costs and barriers. Then they have to assess every single possible revenue stream besides carbon credits. That helps them figure out if there's a funding gap. And only then can they make the case that carbon finance is the essential piece of the puzzle that makes the whole thing viable, the one thing that tips the scales from no-go to go.
So, okay, we've got these two huge tests, regulatory and financial. But that begs the question, who's the referee here? Who makes sure these tests are applied correctly and consistently across the board? Well, that's where the market's governance structure comes in.
And you can really think about this in two key layers. At the very top, you have organizations like the Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market, the ICVCM.
They set the global benchmark, the core carbon principles that basically define what a high-quality, high-integrity credit should even look like. Then, underneath that, you have the standards themselves, like Verra's VCS, that provide the super detailed project-level rulebooks for how you actually prove additionality on the ground.
So in a way, these standard-setting bodies are the regulators of the voluntary market. They are the ones who turn the theory of additionality into specific, concrete, auditable requirements for every single project. Their oversight is what gives the whole system credibility and ensures these tests are being applied rigorously in the real world.
At the end of the day, all of these rules and tests serve one main purpose: to make sure that carbon finance is actually driving new, real climate action. And for a company like yours, trying to make credible climate claims, this is what it all comes back to. Using credits that have passed these tough tests, like the ones that will earn the ICVCM's CCP label, is how you ensure your investment is having a real, additional impact. And that brings us to a final thought, a question to leave you with. Additionality isn't a static thing. It's not set in stone. What's considered additional today might just be standard practice tomorrow. You know, as green technology like solar panels get cheaper and as governments roll out more ambitious climate policies, that baseline for business as usual is constantly moving. So the real challenge for the market is to make sure that its definition of additionality keeps evolving right along with it, so it always drives action that is truly above and beyond the new normal.